What up, Dow? We're back. The Tuesday, December 28th, 2021. Is that what it is? Yeah, edition of this wonderful show. I'm Tom Clos at Classy Hawkeye. Normally during the football season, you can catch my stuff at Go Iowa Awesome on Fridays. Now that football's over, basketball, my stuff's just scattered, but I will have something this week leading into hopefully the Citrus Bowl, Iowa, Kentucky on Saturday at high noon Central, 1 Eastern. And you can follow us over here at Iowa Sports Review on Facebook, IA Sports Review on Twitter, and me at Classy Hawkeye on Twitter as well. Yeah, so I've been off a couple weeks here. It's kind of been slow since the Big Ten championship debacle. And so let's just dive right in with what we have on the docket today. I think first and foremost, is the Citrus Bowl going to happen? And there's been no indication that it won't happen. We all hope it happens. Iowa and Kentucky seem to be COVID-free-ish, whatever that means right now. But some weird stuff's happening with UCLA. Was just they got COVID, it seemed, minutes before they started the Holiday Bowl today, and that got canceled. And everyone saw what happened with Hawaii and Memphis and the Hawaii Bowl. And so I think it's up to the second, just sort of like last season. You just hold your breath until the ball is kicked. And it's just I think it's kind of crazy what's going on with sports right now. And I get it, COVID and the variant and all that stuff. But I mean, nobody's really, any of these athletes in most of these leagues, they're not getting sick. And I've seen even people that are vaccinated and boosters, they have the variant for less than you would normally have COVID. So I just think these policies are really crazy right now. And not that there shouldn't be a policy. It's just, it seems like this is a bit overboard, and games are getting canceled and players are seemingly fine. And, you have fans that are going to games without wearing masks and just vaccinated and going out to bars. And so it's very strange right now. And I don't think anyone saw this coming, even with the variant. And so it's unfortunate that we really don't know. I mean, all signs are pointing to, yes, they're playing, but we don't know up until kickoff. If Iowa and Kentucky play, and obviously we all want Iowa to play, but especially after last season's game, that Music City Bowl got canceled and I lost out on a hotel room. But anyways, so I think we just all have a bad taste in our mouths from Indianapolis. I do still. I probably will for a while. And so they really need to play this game for us, provided everyone's healthy. If somebody gets COVID and they have COVID, then I guess it is what it is. But the policy is pretty whack right now. And it'll be adapted in the off season and as we move on with this virus in our lives. But it just feels like across all sports, not even just college football, it's just in the forefront. I mean, the NHL is a disaster. They don't really know what they're doing. There's just no leadership. So it'll be fascinating. Just keep an eye on that to see if they even play Saturday. Let's hope they do. As for the game, well, you know what? Before we get to Iowa, Kentucky, something just keeps resonating with me that I saw today, and I can't get over it because I was a Big Ten school and all that. Ohio State has players opting out of the Rose Bowl, and not that I even blame it. And I saw Ohio State returned. They sold, I think, 4,000 of the 9,000 they were given for the Rose Bowl. And not that it's even wrong. I mean, I get it. It's just at the end of the day, I guess, an exhibition. But I mean, if we're opting out of the Rose Bowl, then is something wrong? Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Is the playoff just ruining the rest of college football? It feels like it is. Now, I don't know if there's a one size fits all. I guess the only way to get everyone to play in the Rose Bowl is if you expand the playoff, and the Rose Bowl is always in the playoff. But it just stands out to me. I mean, Tyler Goodson skipping the Citrus Bowl, go get paid. I understand that. I mean, if they played in the Rose Bowl, would he skip that? I guess. I mean, I guess it's just sort of the same thing. But it's very strange. I don't know if I've ever seen that. And I mean, like really, like Chris Olave is skipping. I mean, big time players for Ohio State opting out, and it's stunning to me. I mean, it really is stunning. And as a fan of some, or as a Midwest person and someone who grew up watching the Rose Bowl, and it was all about winning the Big Ten and going to the Rose Bowl and getting to the Rose Bowl and going to Pasadena and all that. I mean, you know, had Iowa won 3 weeks ago, I'd be going, God willing. But it's stunning. It's startling to me. You know, Ohio State, very good team. They go to the Rose Bowl and they can't sell out their allotment in the Rose Bowl. Ohio State doesn't even go to the Rose Bowl often. Yeah, they're going to the playoff, but it's still like a new thing for them since they were since '96. They were back since, but and it makes me wonder. Was college football better when we were just at the BCS, or the hell even before that? Maybe it was more enjoyable. I don't know if that's the word, like, or more innocent. And the playoff has just sort of made anything outside of the playoff just seem like I mean, in 2015 Iowa lost that Big Ten title game and went to the Rose Bowl, and it was, I mean, at first it was a massive disappointment that they were going to the Rose Bowl, which seems insane. Nobody opted out, but that was kind of right before the opt-out started. I mean, Christian McCaffrey played in that Rose Bowl game, but it was startling to see that from Ohio State. And I think it's a byproduct of the playoff, and the playoff just taking the air out of everything, not the playoff. You know, I mean, had Iowa beaten Michigan, Michigan would have gone to a really good bowl at 11-2, but it almost just, I don't know, it just kind of didn't mean anything anymore. And I don't know, Notre Dame would probably be in the playoff, but yeah, I mean, the playoff has killed every other bowl, it seems, which is a shame because Iowa not only doesn't go to the playoff, but I can't imagine them ever getting to the playoff. So they're just going to have to expand it. I think that'll solve a lot of that. If nothing else, it'll make the bigger bowl, all the big bowls, mean something. I mean, that's fine if the Cheez-It Bowl doesn't mean much, because it shouldn't really when you go, 7-5. But I mean, players opting out of the Rose Bowl, I get it, and I'm for it, and I understand it. I'm 100% go get paid, protect your body. You could die out there. But it sucks. It does suck because the Rose Bowl was everything growing up, and now it's just nothing. It really is nothing anymore. A couple things from Orlando. Yeah, like I said, everyone, I mean, all's clear on the COVID front as far as I've seen, unless something's broken in the last 9 minutes here. Terry Roberts is out. He's running around in a boot. I got to be honest, he may have gotten hurt in the Big Ten title game. I don't remember much of that game, other than me just staggering out of Lucas Oil Stadium. Yeah, every other bowl, 100%. That's true. That's so true. And Tyler Goodson right now, the only notable opt-out for Iowa. Yeah, Linderbaum's a full go. He's going to play. And if all goes according to plan, I think it'll be a really good game. Right now, Kentucky's favored by 3, I believe is the number, which is interesting. This is a Kentucky team that they score a lot, 33 a game, but they do turn it over a lot. They can move the ball, but they're yielding about 338, I believe, a game. 219 through the air when you're an Iowa team that throws for, I don't know, shade over $170. I don't know if they can really take advantage of that, but we'll get to that quarterback controversy. I think it's the fakest quarterback controversy ever in a minute. But old friend Wan'Dale Robinson of Nebraska fame is back to, I don't know if he's going to terrorize the Hawkeyes, but he's talking smack about the SEC and the Big Ten, and I don't know, like it's a little better here and blah blah blah. Well, everywhere's better than Nebraska, so that's not surprising at all. But the other guy for Kentucky, Will Levis, is the guy who was eating bananas in the offseason with the peel on. So it should be a really fascinating game for Iowa. And I think part of it is, and I don't think they're gonna have trouble with this, but I almost wonder too, because it was a concern going into the Nebraska game, and then really all those games down the stretch, but the Nebraska game and then the Indianapolis, how much left Iowa has in the tank. Now you have a couple weeks off. You can kind of regroup. You lose your best offensive player, but I do wonder what they have left. Are the players seem excited to be there. This does not seem to be some consolation prize, probably because that game was such a blowout. Yeah, I don't know. At 5.5, because like, does Iowa, because you kind of have to look at historically. I mean, Iowa comes into these games, and usually in these January bowl games, at least, God, outside of that Florida one, well, the Tennessee and the Florida one, okay, there were a couple there, but Iowa seems to play well in these. And Kentucky, you take a look at their schedule real quick, and I mean, they played the best team they played, Georgia. They got housed like most teams. I mean, their best win is, I don't know, LSU. I mean, they beat Florida, who was number 10 at the time, but is it at home against LSU? Is it at Louisville, who I think lost earlier today? Like, I don't. At South Carolina might be their best win. So I don't know how really good this Kentucky team is. This isn't a Kentucky team that got to Atlanta and lost to Alabama or something. Like that. They haven't been super impressive. So I don't know, that spread feels right. Like if it was 5.5, I would bet Iowa all day and just take my chances on that. Iowa too. These are the types of games, they get blown out against Michigan. All might look not lost, but shaky. And then they come out and win a game. So I think the spread's about right. Maybe I'm way off. Maybe Iowa should be a touchdown dog. Yeah, I get that sense too. It's just tough. It's tough to come back from that. And, the season was, I'll say it again, the season was a complete success, and I'm happy at the end of the day. No, you're not too pessimistic. I mean, look, they lost by 39 the last time we saw this team, or maybe was it 49? I don't even know the final score of that Michigan game. I swear on my life, I can't look at it. I don't know anything about it. I just know that it was bad. And it became a blur after Iowa punted down by like 50 in the fourth quarter. So I apologize if it was 49-3 or 42-3, but yeah, I'm the same way. And I think it's okay. Again, it was a very successful season, but the pessimism and like, can you really get up for this? And I guess this goes back to the Rose Bowl comments, but like, it's tough to get up for this game. And I will, January 1st will roll around, and it's an Iowa football game. Hopefully they play, and I'll get up for it for sure. I mean, it's fun watching them, obviously, but like, I don't know. I wonder how much different this would feel if Wisconsin had just beaten Minnesota. Iowa beats Nebraska, finish the season on a high. Wisconsin beats Minnesota, and then they lose to Michigan. Like, I don't like. Does this feel different? Are we a little more excited? Heck, is the line closer to even? I think that's a what if. I will say this: the players, as normally at Iowa, they kind of keep it buttoned down for the most part. They're saying all the right things. And okay, let's just get into it. Quarterback wise, it's going to be Petrus. It hasn't been announced. He's been taking the reps with the ones all week. I think if it's Padilla, I will be very surprised. It's just if Petrus is healthy, he's going to go, and it feels like he's healthy, and he's going to go, and that's just how it's going to be. Now, does that bleed over into the offseason? It shouldn't. I mean, if Petrus throws for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns and goes 15-16 or 22-23, there has to be a quarterback competition in the spring. Joey Labas, Carson May, I don't think he'll be around, but Joey Labas, Padilla, Petrus, me, my mother, my dead grandmother, anyone. Like, I'd just give anyone a shot because the position, if Petrus can win a quarterback competition, then he should be the quarterback. If Padilla can, but there has to be an open competition. We can't have this, oh, he's coming back as a third-year starter, blah, 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 blah. That can't happen. Citrus Bowl, whatever. He starts the Citrus Bowl. They lose to Kentucky. It can't be any worse than the Big Ten title game. So it's just the Citrus Bowl. But in the spring, this should not carry over at all. It should not at all carry over. There shouldn't be any that's football. CJ's our quarterback, so Jay Grudach's going to leave moments after that Tax Slayer Bowl debacle. None of that. So that's what I'm looking for really after the game, quarterback-wise. But Petrus is going to start. Anyone who thought Padilla had a realistic shot outside of Petrus being hurt, it just wasn't going to happen because it really, you would have seen, Padilla didn't come into that Big Ten title game until I think they said Petrus was hurt, but they were down at the half. What was it? 14-3, I think, and lost offensively. And that's not on, that I can't blame Petrus for all of that. It's the scheme. There's so many more issues on offense. But Padilla still didn't come out on offense at the start of the second half. So if he's not coming out then, there's no reason to believe he was ever going to start this game. Now, it would be interesting in this situation against a good opponent if, I get the win, but if I get to see both quarterbacks too, that would be nice. A couple of packages, maybe with both. I don't know, something that makes this offense look like it's in the 21st century. But that won't happen. I just won't believe it until I see it. So Petrus will start. He probably should start. He is one more, which is fine. It feels like we're going to the Big Ten title game again, where I just kind of defer to the coaches, and then I don't know. I guess you just pray it works out, or you hope the defense takes over. I don't know, but there's one more game of this, and then in the offseason, look, Brian Ferentz isn't going anywhere. He's Kirk's son. It's a dead conversation. I've said that many times over. So you just reevaluate the quarterback position from top to bottom. You have to, 100%. And do we want a more mobile option? Do we add some more of those packages for Padilla? Or is Joey Labas the real deal? I've heard great things about him. We hear great things about every young quarterback that isn't starting at Iowa. So I'll hold my breath until he's named the starter, or until I see some tape. I've never seen him play, I don't think. It's out of high school clips. So is he the real deal? But regardless, there has to be an open competition. And then you'll probably see one of the two Padilla transfer, because it even feels like with an open competition that Padilla can't pass Petrus. It feels like he would have already if he could, but we'll let that play out in the spring. So for this bowl game, it'll be Petrus. If they're winning, I'm sure he'll stay in. If they aren't, they'll probably go to Padilla. I wouldn't look too much into it. We'll just go into a quarterback competition in the spring, and see you next year for that. That's a funny. I am sorry. I tried to get caught up in the comments until they're thrown on the screen, but Brian apparently was the number one prospect for the Miami Dolphins offensive coordinator position. I hope. Please take him. If you can do anything to get him out of here, but because Kirk will never make a move, and the offense will always be further behind. Now, the one way, though, to get around that, and this is where Padilla comes into play, where they could use both quarterbacks effectively. Bring in Padilla and run some more. He can move. I'm not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but bring in some offensive packages. This is what I've been screaming about with Tyler Goodson all season. He's been making lemons out of dog crap, or lemonade out of dog crap. Sorry. Get him going in the passing game. Incorporate more short passes. He's not the typical. He's just not big enough. The handoff up the middle guy. And it's the same. Use what you have. Use your personnel. Petrus, when he's on, he's pretty good. But get Padilla, I don't know, run a swing with Padilla, then have him throw. Run a throwback to somebody, a Petrus, something. Have Padilla come in and just run the Wildcat. I don't know. You need to show some packages. And it just blows my mind that coming out of the bye after the loss to Purdue, coming out of getting to Indianapolis and having this, this quarterback controversy and all that, they still just don't incorporate that. So hopefully, in the bowl game, sometimes they empty the play sheet. maybe we'll see some things and go, boy, that would have been nice at Wisconsin when you couldn't move the ball. Boy, that would have been nice against Purdue when you had to score. That, boy, that would have been nice that first drive or the second drive against Michigan. That was the funny thing about that Big Ten title game. It felt like Brian prepared for the first 5 minutes, and then that was it. Once they had to go off script, the game he had no clue. It was back to handoff, punt, and then down 40 punt. So look, I don't want to get caught back up in that game. You can tell it's a raw nerve still. So in this bowl game, okay, go win, beat Kentucky. We all want to win. I want to see just something from this offense to take into next year. Heck, maybe it's a new receiver. I don't know. Some more wrinkles. Yeah, so that's what I want to see. And no matter what happens with the quarterbacks, again, they could both go 100 for 100. Quarterback competition, let's see it in the spring. That would be a win-win for the offensive coordinator position. So all good. We're barreling towards the Citrus Bowl. No Terry Roberts. That's about it on the football front. I don't know. Well, all right. I'm sorry. The chat got me back on football real quick. How can I possibly be more upset with 10 wins than I have been with 7? And boy, is that not the truth? Before there's not a lot for hoops until next week, so it'll be quick to touch on them. But is that not the truth, though? How can we be? And this is like, if there's like Iowa to a T, it's that. I mean, there have been seasons where they will go 7-5. 7-5 is tough, but like 8-4, like 2013. Oh, they were 4-8. It was a disaster. I was still in school. They go 8-4. They beat Nebraska for the first time, and it felt like, oh my God, like there was a lot of hope and a lot of this. I'm not saying it's hopeless now. I mean, I think it's far from that, but you felt really good after that. And I think after that, they went and lost to LSU. That was in the Outback Bowl, I think. But they played well. They had a couple of linebackers going to the NFL. Yeah, you felt great. I mean, there's been seasons like that. 2017 is another one. Even though it was the year they beat Ohio State, even though it kind of cratered at the end, and then they got back up and then lost to they won the bowl game against Boston College in New York on the frozen field. Boy, it felt hopeful. Like it just felt like and you were happy with it. It was like, that's a really good season. And that's why I keep saying I don't want this to get lost in the debacle in Indianapolis, that this was a really good year. It really was. I mean, when you look at it outside of Linderbaum, that offensive line, very young. I think they've gotten better the last few weeks. Michigan just abused them, but they were getting better the last few weeks. Is it just quarterback? It feels like it's just a couple of spots there. I think receiver, they found between Bruce and Johnson. I mean, they found some really nice receivers. You got quite a bit of talent coming back or coming back, but coming in too. I mean, that defense Phil's got him playing as good as ever. It's only going to get better, that secondary probably. So it's very exciting. It's very hopeful in a lot of fronts. But I will say this, it feels like that this feels like, though, a cap. And you know what? Getting to Indianapolis every year would be wonderful. I mean, I'll take that every single year. But I will say it was a very successful season, but I don't know if this program, without massive changes in certain areas, can get over that cap. I think that's what we're feeling here. And it's such a real comment, though. How can I possibly be more upset with 10 wins than 7? I mean, look, they went 10-3 with the bowl game, but they went 10-3 2 years ago, and it felt, I don't know if the term's empty, but God, it felt like a missed everything. Like it just felt like such a missed opportunity. Look, they went 9-4 3 years ago when they beat Mississippi in the Outback Bowl, and that felt like a huge missed opportunity. So they took advantage this year. Wisconsin was a little down, had a couple losses. They used the Wisconsin loss to Minnesota to get to Indianapolis at 10-2. They're 10-3. It's great. But can this program win that next game? Can they get over the hump? I think that's the thing that just takes some of the air out of the season. But I mean, in a vacuum, if you told me, and I hate this, but if you told me at the beginning of the year, They're going to go 10-2, get to Indy. Yeah, they'll lose in Indy, but 10-3, they have a chance at 11 wins in 14 games. That's damn good. I mean, at Iowa, that's really, really good. I was there at 4-8, and that shouldn't be anything, but it's just, we've all seen, 6-6, 7-5 theater for years. So the program is winning at a clip that I've never seen over, 4 or 5 years right now. And most people in Iowa haven't, I don't think, since the 80s. So it's the weird give and take, hey, look, if they beat Kentucky and go 11-3, 11-win season, I mean, that's incredible at Iowa. It really is. So that's why Indy aside, and that's the weird thing where it's like, if they didn't even get to Indy, how does this feel right now? But Indy aside, it's been a very good season. I'm very happy with it. I think there's a cap. It feels like there's a cap, and maybe they make those changes in the offseason. Maybe they don't. We'll see. 3-point dog to Kentucky. I'm hoping to jump on after the Citrus Bowl, provided it happens. Jump on here. We'll advertise and shoot out a link, possibly with Adam. I got to figure that out, but I would very much like to jump on after the Citrus Bowl. Just go over it. Hopefully some offensive fireworks, whatever that means for Iowa. It'll be good for, we all want to see T good in that game and stuff, but if he's leaving, it's actually probably better. It's not better for the Citrus Bowl, but it's better for the program that just somebody else gets those reps right now. And I don't know how it works. Does he completely leave and he doesn't, Goodson's just not even at practice? Is he still with the team until they leave? I don't even know. I know he's not in Florida probably, but I guess that's just it. He just goes into training for the combine or whatever, and we're all rooting for him. I mean, I think he's one of the more favorite players that's come through Iowa in years. I mean, just the talent, and that's part. It's players like him though that make me really happy where this program is, because you can see the talent. I mean, going back to 2013. The talent level from then to now, I mean, especially you saw the recruiting class Iowa brought in, it's enormously better. It just feels like, I mean, heck, if they had an average offense, they could be 11-1, or what would they be, 11-2? Heck, they probably would have had a shot against Michigan, been in that game. I mean, that second quarter, the defense held them in it. So it's just, and it's so frustrating, because if it's anyone but Brian Ferentz, I think it's just an easy move, and I get it. This is the problem with nepotism. It's when it doesn't work. It's a disaster, and it's holding back the program. But maybe they'll scheme their way out of it next year. I don't know. I think the answer is Iowa needs to go to a more mobile, at least a dual threat type of quarterback. I get their jam is the drop back statuesque guy, but I mean, if they can get a guy, even like I mean, you go back to Drew Tate and Picky Ricky couldn't really run, but he could move in the pocket. I mean, and Petrus, just God bless him, he just can't move. And Padilla can, just a little bit more. And the dude they brought in from New Jersey is supposed to be more mobile. He'll be here in about 4 years, it seems. But I think next year's recruiting class. If he's in, I can't talk about recruits coming in next year. Who knows? But I think that's the way they have to go in recruiting the quarterback position from now on. Just, I think it would just open up things a little more, because you can do a lot of the pro principles with a mobile quarterback too. And I was just so steadfast against it. It's so frustrating. But we'll see. We'll see what happens against Kentucky. It'll be the Petrus show again, and we'll go from there. All right. And then I wanted to jump into basketball real quick. So last time I came on, they were heading, I think it was right before Iowa State. What a debacle. I was there. Just a terrible, terrible game on all fronts. Iowa couldn't, they couldn't make a shot. They couldn't do anything. This is interesting though, before I get to basketball. Goodson is a sellout to his teammates. They should make early exits, payback, scholarship. Comment in the chat. That's interesting. I disagree. I mean, I don't. For the Citrus Bowl, the only time I would ever question, not even. I mean, look, you do you. I guess the only time I think you're really should question a situation like this is like if someone opts out of the playoff, I mean, you do what you need to do. I think you're just open to a lot of backlash, not even from fans and teammates so much as NFL guys or NFL evaluators and teams. And I think you start to question a lot of those things. That being said, I mean, dude, if he's going to go to the Citrus Bowl and blow out his knee, I mean, is that worth it? The Iowa, Kentucky Citrus Bowl when, I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. I mean, it's great for us and we want to win and stuff. And it's meaningful, I guess, for the players, but that are there. But it's like in the grand scheme, this isn't the Big Ten title game. The dude's giving, he's a running back. He's giving his body. It's just, you can't criticize him for that. And quite frankly, you go to the Rose Bowl opt-outs for Ohio State, you can't criticize those guys either. I want to because I love the Rose Bowl, but it doesn't mean anything anymore. If they're in the college football playoff, Chris Olave is playing. I think if I was in the Rose Bowl, Goodson's playing because it's that special for Iowa and stuff. But I don't know. He might still opt out. It's just, yeah. It's a weird subject. At first, it's funny because opting out when it first happened in like 2016, it was so like, oh my God, how could he quit on his team? How could he quit on his team? And then when you really step back and you think about it, it's like, what's he quitting on? Yeah, I get it. The guy's in the room and all that, but this is the most dangerous sport in the world. Like and when you have your entire future on the line for an exhibition, that's why if a guy's quitting in the middle of the season, if a guy's quitting in games that, you can win a title. And I mean, the team did not build all year to get to the Citrus Bowl. It's a nice consolation prize, but this is not, the goal is to win the Big Ten title. He played in the Big Ten championship game, played his ass off. Everyone did. They're all trying out there. And I mean, dude, he's given so much to the university over the last 3 years. He's been their best player. You do you, T. Good. I can never blast the guy. And I mean, if a guy, I don't think it's even worth it to blast a guy if he's skipping the playoff now. I'm not for that. I'm just saying he's got to, I don't think, I'm not going to blast a guy for the playoff, but he can expect a lot of backlash if a guy skipped to the playoff. That being said, what are you even doing in college football if you're not going to play for national champion? So I don't think that'll ever happen. But I think I think the Rose Bowl thing just shows you, outside of the playoff, there's going to be opt-outs. There probably should be opt-outs if guys are really thinking about going to the pros. I mean, Tyler Goodson's probably a draft pick. Like this, you gotta and a mid-round draft pick. So you gotta be so healthy. He's got to go to the combine. He gets tackled the wrong way against Kentucky in Orlando, and it just doesn't mean anything in that sense. In the grand scheme of things, it's a good game for Iowa to get more reps, and it's good to go to a bowl game, but let's just give him playoff games. You do you. Go get paid. Yeah, I mean, there's a comment. Trevor Lawrence took a whole year off, was still drafted number 1. Did he take a whole year off? Nobody's going to hesitate missing games. He took a whole year off? I don't ever remember that. If he did, I must have blacked out during that year. I thought he played all time, but when he was at Clemson. But yeah, no, anyone who's skipping games, you do you. The Rose Bowl thing, there are Ohio State fans not happy. Then again, they returned 4,000 tickets from their allotment, and this is a school that has fans and alumni everywhere. So if the fans aren't even buying all the tickets, how do I expect Chris Olave to show up for a stupid Rose Bowl? He took the whole year off. Okay, yeah. I get it now because of COVID. Yeah, he's still at number 1. Well, when you're generational talent, I guess that'll happen. And then until Urban Meyer gets a hold of you and then ruins you. All right, I want to jump over. But yeah, after the Citrus Bowl, we should be hopping on with some post-game thoughts. At least I will. I plan to on January 1st on Saturday, probably during the Rose Bowl. But anyways, let's hop over to hoops quickly here. Kind of an interesting lull in the Iowa hoops department. I was at the Iowa State game. It's funny. I don't even take a lot from it because they didn't get outplayed, but they were never in it because they couldn't. I mean, Keegan Murray was missing layups. It was ugly. I mean, it's just on every level. And quite frankly, it was almost as big a disaster as the Big Ten title game was that I was at 5 days earlier. It was really the worst. It's funny because I was in Indy and then got back and went to the Illinois game, which was a loss at home, basketball, and then the Iowa State game. It has to be the worst 5-day stretch in like the history of the school in basketball and football. Just not worse, but most disappointing. I mean, it was brutal at that time. So they had a nice break, came back, ended up blowing out Utah State, which could end up being a pretty nice win. I mean, Utah State's at 9-4. We'll see what they do in the Mountain West. That could be a very important bubble-ishous win when things heat up in March. That being said, Iowa, and this leads into Big Ten play, they got some ground to make up. I mean, it's clearly the best win. The win over Virginia, which was feeling pretty good, is really – it turned into – that's a really nice win too. Thank God they pulled that out at the end, 75-74 earlier this month, because since then, Virginia beat Pitt, lost at James Madison, beat Fairleigh Dickinson, and they got blown out by Clemson. I mean, they're not a good team right now. And I don't know if they're going to be this year. Virginia, they've really struggled. So I don't know how good that win is going to be. And because of that, the Utah State game is a better win. And then tomorrow, tomorrow they get Western Illinois. And then we're back into Big Ten play the rest of the year, and it heats up in a hurry. That Maryland game on the 3rd, a week from yesterday, 6 days from now, at Carver is very spicy because Maryland's 6-4. They're on Danny Manning's an interim coach. They're 0-1 in the Big Ten. They lost to, I think it was Northwestern at home. In fact, I'm looking. They've lost 3 of the last 5. They lost. They beat Richmond, lost to Louisville, lost to Virginia Tech. I mean, this is a Maryland team Iowa at home needs to beat. I mean, they just do. This is a Maryland team that smells like an NIT team at best. Interim head coach, they might bottom out. Regardless of that, Iowa's 0-2 in the Big Ten, so they absolutely need to win the game. I mean, they have to do it to resurrect. They're not going to win the Big Ten this year, but they have to do it to resurrect any hopes of finishing in the upper half of the Big Ten, finishing in the top 6 in the Big Ten. So, I mean, that's huge. It's a huge game on so many levels. And if Iowa was 2-0, it'd still be a huge game because then they go to Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's sitting at 9-2. Watched, I don't know what Indiana. I don't know what that was. Indiana was up about 100 in that game back on the 8th and just fell apart. Wisconsin pulled that out of the fire, and then they went to Columbus and just got waxed. Came back, beat I think it was Nicholls State by 3. So I don't know. I still don't know how good Wisconsin is. They won the Maui Invitational, but I don't. They're ranked 24th, 9-2. I think it's winnable. I mean, I don't think this is some insurmountable task. If this isn't a vintage Wisconsin, I was going to go there and get blown out because they can't win at the Kohl Center type of deal. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, first off, that's why Iowa needs to win Monday because you can't start 0-3 in the Big Ten and expect to really finish inside the top 8. It's so tough in this conference. And I mean, you look up and down the conference now: Michigan State, Ohio State, Illinois, Northwestern, those 4 undefeated. Okay, Northwestern, they're still 8-2, and we still haven't gotten to Purdue. We still haven't gotten to Minnesota, who's 10. I mean, Purdue, Minnesota, and Indiana are combined 31-4. And Minnesota just won at Michigan. I mean, that's not even counting Michigan, who still has a lot of talent. Outside of Nebraska and Penn State and maybe Maryland. I mean, Rutgers just beat Purdue, who was number 1 at the time. So this is a very important game against Maryland, leading into a trip to Wisconsin that I don't know. I mean, at the beginning of the year, I thought Iowa was better than them, and then they come back home and play Indiana on the 13th. So it heats up immediately. So tomorrow would be nice. The final warm up. I'm so sick of. No offense to Southeast Louisiana and Western Illinois, but I'm just so done with this. It's been like the lightest non-conference schedule of all time. It just borderline. I don't even know if it's unwatchable, but it's like, I don't know, when they're winning games 93-62. Like it just, I can't. So that's why the Iowa State game was so disappointing because it was ramping up. The Illinois game, actually a really good game, even though they lost. And so I'm just ready for Big Ten play. I think we all are. It's enough of Western Illinois and Southeast Louisiana. I'm done with it. So it's a big tomorrow. They should win by, I don't know, whatever they're favored by, 1 million. And then they should be ready for Big Ten play. I mean, they have to be ready. It doesn't matter. I want to jump back into football here though quickly. There's some comments here. This is interesting. They should offer bonuses for playing in bowl games. Big Ten games get tens of millions of dollars. Seems they could afford bonuses for the players. It's not crazy. I mean, they should really just be paying the players, but what's the difference at this point? Why? That's a good point. I mean, I saw this today. Central Michigan, with all this COVID stuff, they were playing in the Barstool Bowl, Arizona Bowl or something, and we're getting $175,000 in that bowl. Boise State had to drop out because of COVID. So Central Michigan is now playing in the Sun Bowl, and they're going to make a couple million just because now they're in the Sun Bowl. Why? Like, I mean, they're just throwing these bowls, and they're trying to have these bowl games and scramble because they just bring in so much money with the TV rights. Share a little pie. Maybe you won't lose Chris Olave to the Rose Bowl. That's a great idea. Hey, Chris, here's $5,000. You want to play one more game in the granddaddy of them all? I'm sure he would stay for one game. You know, that's a great point. I mean, maybe that should just be part of the care package. They certainly could afford it. Also, if Tyler Goodson isn't playing next year, I think he's doing the team a favor. But like, yeah, exactly. I agree that. That's what I was thinking earlier. I mean, it's better. Look, it's better for a guy to declare he's leaving and, for lack of a better term, just get out of the way for the younger guys, because he's not going to be there next year. And that bowl games, for the most part, are about next year. Quarterback, I mean, the biggest thing of all. Now it could be different. Tyler Linderbaum dreamed of playing at Iowa, home, all that stuff. Best center in the country. If he opted out, who could blame him? The guy's going to go in the top 12 of the draft. But that's actually a really good point. I guess I just never thought of it because the NIL thing. But yeah, how about some cash incentive? Especially a lot of these. I mean, you get in the big bowls and they give you PlayStations and stuff. Of course, to Chris Olave, if he stays healthy, he's going to get millions next year. So what's the difference there? But I don't know. I mean, hey, Chris, $10K, you want to play in the Rose Bowl? Like, we're going to be making gazillions off of it. But I don't know. That seems taboo for some reason. We can't just give them money. It's got to be some different thing now. But that's a good point. It's just too bad that academics are replaced by athletics in modern culture. I don't even know if it's that so much as athletics just brings in so much money. And that's how at schools it can get replaced like that. I think it's proven that athletics plays a big part in getting kids to go to schools. 100%. You can't tell me Alabama doesn't have more applicants each year because when they're winning national titles than when Mike Shula was coaching them to 8-4 theater on probation. I mean, it's a proven fact. University of Miami, the U, when that all happened. I mean, that was like all of a sudden these buildings. You watch the documentary, all of these buildings are popping up all over campus because of athletics. So that's just society. That's how it is. If I was on here talking about academics too, or you listen to podcasts about academics, I don't know if they could build an ESPN around shows on academics either. It's just athletics drives money. That's what it is. But yeah, interesting discussion. It's funny because when we're not in like the middle of the season and stuff, we get on these other topics which are very fascinating. And you just kind of can't talk about it when you're leading into the Big Ten title game and stuff. So I'm really enjoying that. But yeah, tomorrow, back to basketball real quick. We're at the 45-minute mark. Western Illinois, they're 10-3. Iowa's favored by 18. So it should be a blowout. And then put on your big boy pants because it heats up. And this is an Iowa team too. Provided they're what would they be? 10-3 at that point. 0-2 in the Big Ten though. Really one real win. I'm not counting Virginia. And so we know this team though. We know what we're going to get. You're going to get blown out at Iowa State. And then would it surprise anyone if they won at Wisconsin? No. Then would it surprise anyone to lose to Indiana? No. That's just the price of doing business. And I will say this: you go back to that Utah State game, the Murrays. First of all, it's so weird when they play that game in South Dakota. I always forget, like, I don't know, the South Dakota game. It's strange to me. I guess Iowa just gets the gate and they invite in Utah State. I'm just getting used to that game. I don't know why. It's like, even when they played Gonzaga there last year, it confuses me. Like, oh, they're in South Dakota. They're not in Utah, or like, where are they? The Pentagon. I'm not from Northwest Iowa. I don't really know a lot about but it always, I don't know, that the floor is so different, but there's always so many Iowa fans. It's obviously close to the border. Just an interesting matchup, just in general. But you go back to the Utah State game. Keegan Murray, I mean, and this is becoming a common theme, though, and I think it's something to look at. He's been going off against, and to his credit, dominating lesser competition. I mean, absolutely dominating. And this is not to say, look, I'm not going to tell you he's been dogging. I mean, he went for 18, 9 rebounds at Virginia. He went for 19. It really didn't feel like it. I think he went off late. 19 points against Illinois. But, I mean, that Iowa State game, he couldn't make a layup. And so I think he didn't play in the Purdue game when they lost in West Lafayette. And so I think it's important for him to kind of show, at least in my eyes, that he went, what do you go, 4 for 17 in 37 minutes. Just kind of do this against a really viable opponent. And whether that's at Wisconsin, and I believe it. I mean, I believe he will. I think he's a lottery pick. But I think it's important. It's important for this team too, for him to really show that. And for really, also, the Chris Murray thing was a wonderful development against Utah State. And you could see, you could see every game Chris Murray not really catching up to, but he's getting better. You could just see it. And I think the microscope is on Keegan or on Chris, because sometimes I think it's Keegan out there. It's like, wow, what a move. And then it's Chris Murray. And so maybe I notice a little bit more, but every damn game, I mean, Utah State, it was just that 2-man game where, I mean, he had 17 and 4 rebounds, and he went 6 of 8, and Keegan's hitting everything. He goes for 35. And I mean, if they're doing that, I mean, if the two of them are combining for 52, this team's going to win most nights. And that was a great thing to see out of the South Dakota game. Also, that Iowa really put the pedal on the metal. That game was it was close. Utah State was hanging around, and I'm like, boy, this just feels like a first 4 game, but Iowa just blew them out over the last 10, 15 minutes, which was great to see. And so I think there's a lot to take it. They play Southeast Louisiana. Keegan had 20, he probably wasn't even trying. He had a double, 20 and 10. That's the problem too. I can only take so much from these Southeast Louisiana and Western Illinois. It's the games at Iowa State and against Illinois, and that's when you really see who they have here. And we just, honestly, I haven't seen enough out of this team to tell you if they're a bubble team, if this is a 10 seed, if this is maybe just the number 1 seed in the NIT. I don't really know yet. I think over the next 2 weeks, we'll know. By the time they get through that Wisconsin game, and they've played Maryland and then Wisconsin, and you're heading against Indiana, you're going to know a lot about them. And that's exciting just to know. I just want to know if they're really good, or not really good, but if they're good, if they're we don't know. Maybe we won't know. Maybe they'll just have to go on a run late to get into the tournament. Maybe they'll start out, or they'll get hot, and then I'm having trouble seeing where this team's going in a good way, and it's just a confusion. So that'll be exciting to see over the next 10 days, and we'll have more there. So I think that hits everything on my agenda. All of a sudden now it's exciting again. It's a busy week, provided the Citrus Bowl happens. Let's all knock on wood that everyone's healthy, players are healthy, nobody's hit with COVID. It doesn't ravage the team. That was where UCLA went to SeaWorld or something yesterday, and they all had COVID. Or boy, that is a weird story. I got to read more about that. UCLA. Yeah, the UCLA Holiday Bowl got COVIDed out today, and they had COVID, but went to SeaWorld yesterday, and now they can't play. It's so weird. Quickly though, actually, speaking of the bowl games, I believe Minnesota plays tonight against West Virginia. Yeah, in what, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl? I think that's the old Insight Bowl. It starts in an hour and 20 minutes or something. I'm on the East Coast right now. At 10:15. That's a tough start. I'll be up watching it because I'm sick, but I'll probably bet on it too. But yeah, so look for us. We'll look for Adam tomorrow, and then look for us after the Citrus Bowl, sometime after the Citrus Bowl. Hopefully, I can jump on and we'll dissect. There will be a lot to dissect. Kind of look back at the season, look ahead to the off season. Maybe Padilla started. I don't know. And then look ahead to Maryland on Monday. Maybe a quick look after Iowa. Hopefully, everyone's healthy through tomorrow against Western Illinois, and then we'll go from there. No Josh Agundale tomorrow. Non-COVID, I believe he's banged up. He's not going to play. Maybe something to look at. I don't know how much of an impact he'll have in the Big Ten season, at least early on. And then next Tuesday, I will actually be on next Tuesday. I thought I got my dates mixed up. So next Tuesday, I will be back, same time, 8 Eastern. Sorry, Eastern time zone, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. And we'll further break down the Citrus Bowl, and then we'll have an Iowa-Maryland game to talk about, and then the lead up to the trip to Wisconsin for the basketball team. And then we'll just go from there. But we're ramping back up. I've had a lot of eggnog over the last few weeks, and now we're ready to get back into the swing of things. I think the hangover of the Big Ten title game is, to be perfectly honest, it probably won't be ever lifted until Iowa wins a Big Ten title, if that ever happens again. But I think we're starting to kind of come up for some air here, and we'll get back into the swing of things. And we'll end it there. I will see you Saturday after the Citrus Bowl, provided it happens. Adam tomorrow night. Follow us, Iowa Sports Review on Facebook, IA Sports Review on Twitter. I'm at Classy Hawkeye on Twitter. Catch my stuff on Go Iowa Awesome. I will have something this week on Friday under the moniker Classy Hawkeye. And that is that. Have a good night, everyone. Watch the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, whatever Guaranteed Rate is. And we'll see you Saturday after the Citrus Bowl. Take care.